Hello and welcome to Foul Plays, where we look at tales of tabletop tragedy that are sure to ruffle some feathers. I'm your host, BossGoose, and in today's story, we have a player who starts all kinds of bad behaviors after joining a play-by-post Discord server. From taking advantage of the ambiguity in the server rules to trying to eke out advantages and perks for his character in games, he consistently drags things to a halt as he argues, whines, and plays the victim whenever anyone doesn't let him have his way, causing a great deal of frustration among the admins and the players. Before we get started though, our little adventure continues with a simple question. Are you afraid of the dark? As we've journeyed further underground, we've come across a vast subterranean lake, with nothing but inky black darkness stretching before us. There's a small boat here that we can use to get across, but it could be dangerous as our destination is uncertain. I do have a lantern here that we can use to light the way, but that may also lead to its own problems. I'll leave the final decision to you whether we light it or not, so make your choice and we'll set off in 3, 2, 1. And if you chose to brave the unknown in the dark, we were carried along by a gentle current and found our way to the other side where treasures and the end of our journey is near. Well done. If you chickened out though and turned that light on, then unfortunately we attracted the attention of the legendary Mothman. We gotta act fast, and the only way to get out of this before it steals our light and possibly our sanity is to throw the subscribe button at it. Not only will it provide them with updates whenever new content is available on my channel, but also easy access to dozens of existing stories that'll keep them distracted while we make our escape. Now, without any further delays, it's time to take your seats and wet your beaks as we dive on into today's tale. This is a story about a player who took advantage of the kindness and patience of others to give their character unnecessary advantages, but was such a massive chump that they couldn't even do it correctly. The setting, a play-by-post D&D 5e server heavily focused on combat. Any player could DM as long as they followed some rules regarding what loot they could and couldn't give out so as to not break balance for other DMs when a character hopped tables. There were also a couple loosely defined rules regarding general behavior, which I'll bring up when relevant. For the most part, the players got along. Disagreements were handled out of character like mature adults. Players were respectful to one another, and everyone was there to have fun. Then there was Chump. I don't know where Chump came from or how he found this small D&D server. What I do know is that before he showed up, there was a rule that you couldn't ERP with other players in public channels. After a week of chumpiness, the rule was changed to no ERP in public channels, period. Why was this subtle change needed, I hear you ask? Well, you see, before Chump arrived, DM players would occasionally spin up NPCs to serve as quest givers or damsels in distress or what have you. There was no hard-written rules about how many NPCs you could make, but it was never an issue. Chump saw this and inferred that anyone could make any number of NPCs for any reason, and proceeded to make a literal army of NPCs and roleplay having sex with them by himself. Wow, that's sad and super cringy. Oh, his NPC army would conveniently share resources or perform magical services for his main character whenever he needed something. His level 1 character was their leader, you see. The mods were so blindsided by this, and the sheer volume of smut Chump was cranking out, that there was actually a debate on which issue to deal with first. After explaining to him that writing erotic fiction featuring his OCs in a public space is not appropriate, the admin made a rule that NPCs had to exist discreetly within quests, unless they were piloted by a mod. Chump claimed that he couldn't understand how what he was doing was any different than two other players having their characters greet each other with a kiss. He also found it unfair that another player, a mod, had control over a shopkeeper. Somehow threatening to ban Chump made him understand the nuances pretty quickly. Now that you've got a general idea of who Chump is, I'd like to tell you about a specific incident that's emblematic of his nonsense. An important Chumpian detail is that he was a scaly. That's like a furry, but with lizards. This went beyond sexual proclivities and into identity. Chump refused to play any character besides a Dragonborn or a Kobold, took any criticism extremely personally, stopped trying to take away my scales, and had some very exacting demands about his character's anatomy, namely His character absolutely had to have a prehensile tail. Before I go any further, here are the players involved. DM, a player who wanted to run a brief dungeon crawl, non-confrontational, and relatively new to 5e. Chump, playing a Dragonborn fighter, I think. They also wrote with a lot of action marks like pouts or sighs, which I'm going to leave out of the dialogue because it's all obnoxious. Melf, a player with a slapstick elven monk. He would manipulate 5e mechanics in goofy ways, like asking friendly players to shoot him so he could use deflect missiles to add 20 feet of range, or stacking movement effects so he could run really fast. He clearly knew the 5e rules well, but used his powers for cartoonish bits instead of trying to eke out advantages. Noob, a player who was kind of new to 5e, but brand new to the server. I think they were playing a gnome rogue. The important details are that they had a dual-wielding character with dark vision. Me, a passive observer reading the channel during my lunch break. So, the adventure starts with Chump asserting, apropos of nothing, that his Dragonborn has a tail. The DM just kinda went with it, because why not? Immediately in the very first encounter, Chump tries to do an offhand attack, despite having a shield, because my tail is prehensile, so it can hold a sword. What followed was an argument between DM and Chump on the first combat round of the session. Eventually it came to, Chump, why are you bullying me? DM, I'm just trying to keep the game moving. Chump, fine, but I can still hold things with my tail. DM, fine, let's move on. Everything was fine and dandy until they came to a cave. Chump, can I have dark vision? DM, what? Chump, it's stupid that Dragonborn don't have dark vision and everyone else has dark vision and you're putting us into a cave. You're singling me out. It's not fair. DM is typing. Noob, I have a lantern in my inventory. Chump, good. Hold it for me. Melf, why don't you hold it with your tail since Noob has an offhand weapon? Chump, don't tell me how to play my character. Besides, I need my tail to hold my journal. Apparently, Chump's character liked to journal mid-adventure. They never brought this up before, or again after this session, but they refused to budge on it. Melf, I'm just saying you're the only one who needs the light. Shouldn't you hold the lantern since you've literally got a third arm? Chump, you're bullying me. Noob, it's fine, my gnome lights the lantern, let's just go into the cave. They do some cave stuff. Chump keeps yelling at Noob to hold the light steady so they can write in their journal. I'm sorry. Good RP, or abusive dickhead flexing on someone they could push around? You be the judge. The encounter kicks off with the party fighting some blink dogs. Melf rushes in. Noob tries to follow. Chump gets mad at Noob for running away with the light and insists that Noob stays next to him. Noob sheepishly agrees. Chump, I shoot the dog with my bow. Melf, aren't you holding a shield? DM, just let him do it. Chump rolls to attack and it hits. What do you think of that? Melf, I think you can't target the dog because you can't see it. Chump, of course I can see it. It's right in front of me and the range of the bow is 80. Melf, he's 60 feet away. You made Noob stand behind you with a light source that extends to 55 feet in front of you, because you wouldn't hold your own lantern. If DM lets you attack the dog, it's either an auto miss or you get disadvantage. Chump, what is this? Why do you keep singling me out? Melf, because you keep cheating. Several people are typing. DM, okay, game's over. The DM shut the game down. Later in the mod channel, he said that he didn't have the patience to deal with Chump constantly trying to game the rules or the way he spoke to people. Another instance of Chump being a chump was linked in the comments. Quote, Chump, you're bullying me. Well, now I am. Get in the locker, you f***ing nerd. I can't imagine having a victim complex this intense. Holy OP. I think it was less victim complex and more intentional grinding the game to a halt whenever they were challenged. It worked with some people until they stopped playing on the server because it was becoming a hostile environment. Others, like the admin and Melf, would stand their ground, but it could get tedious. One incident in particular was just mind-numbingly painful. Chump had been on good behavior after being scolded. He was playing a barbarian at this time. The DM put a door in front of us that opened vertically, like a garage. He said it was heavy. The party stepped back to let Chump, the strongest character, lift the door. Chump, I look for a lever or a secret button around the door. Rolls low on an investigation check. DM. You don't see any, but you can tell the door isn't locked. Chump. I keep looking for a mechanism. Melf. I hand Chump my crowbar. Chump. I put the crowbar in my bag. Melf. No, use it to open the door. Chump. Don't tell me how to play my character. Melf. It's a sliding door. You lift it. Just open it. Chump. My character doesn't know that. Melf. In character. Try lifting the door from the bottom. Chump. In character. Shut up, weakling. I know how to open a door. Melf. Dude. What the hell? Chump. It's my character. Besides, what if the door's too heavy? Melf. The crowbar gives you advantage. DM. Can we move this thing along? Chump. Fine. I try to open the door with the crowbar. DM is typing. Chump. From the side. Our wizard ended up using knock. That was another session that had to be cut early because Chump misread his abilities every single combat round. It really wasn't worth it, and I wish he'd been banned sooner. Back to the main story, eventually Chump was banned from the server after going on an insult spree. That alone wasn't cause to ban someone, but by that point he was regularly threatening other players in-game, attacking shopkeepers, constantly forgetting how his abilities worked, and generally being an ass. Last I heard, they made him a mod on one of the FR servers. What an aggravating little man this guy was. I'm not sure if he was as dumb as he was acting, or if he was just trolling, but honestly, probably a little bit of both. So right away, when Chump joined the server, he was already stirring the pot by following what the rules said to the letter, rather than what their intended purpose was, with the whole weird self-ERP thing. The fact that the rule on the server said no ERP between players rings very clear that not safe for work content like that is not meant for the public channels, and anyone reading that rule should have come to the same conclusion. It's really a unique choice to go into a public channel and start writing your sexcapades with NPC A, B, and C without any prompting. You're basically just writing erotic fanfiction at that point, so if that's how you get your jollies, then why not just do it in a Word doc or something, and save everyone else from having to see it? Of course, these concubines had a dual purpose to serve and benefit Chump in any way he needed between adventures. And I'm sure they had a wide range of practical skills to go along with the dirty ones. So right off the bat, you have him here trying to game the system in his favor. Then of course we get to his conduct in-game, and oh man, I can get a little antsy when rounds of combat start taking 20 plus minutes between turns, so I can't imagine sitting there while Chump tries to argue and whine his way into not only getting a third arm, but additional racial traits for his character and whatever bonus I'm sure he thought he could get away with. I will actually agree on one thing. I always have found it a little odd that Dragonborn don't have dark vision, but that's just the price you pay if you want to play that race. You're playing a game called Dungeons and Dragons. Half the time you're playing, you're going to be delving into caves and ruins, and they aren't going to be well lit. So don't go crying and accusing your DM of targeting you if you happen to be playing a race that can't see in the dark. Can I also say how petty it is that after Noob was kind enough to provide a solution to his vision problems, Chump was ordering him to carry the light and yelling at him for not staying close, which he refused to carry himself because of his all-important journal, which was so stupid I just couldn't help but laugh. Chump was not only a whiny guy with a victim complex, he was also just super arrogant and a jerk and tried to walk all over anyone he could. I know Melf was egging him on a little bit, but with the way Chump was acting and trying to get away with stuff, I don't blame him in the slightest for doing so. We see all these arrogant behaviors again in the comment example with the door, and I just gotta wonder what exactly Chump is getting out of behaving this way. He's just acting like a spoiled brat who's never had to do what he's told before, and OP was right that they should have saved themselves a lot of aggravation and shown him the door immediately after it became apparent what kind of nonsense he peddled in. Who knows what kind of server Chump ended up as a mod on, but I can only imagine he burned it to the ground. Anyways, thanks for checking out my video and sticking around till the end. I upload new content every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, so make sure you check out my channel for more D&D stories. And if you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and leave me a goosebump in the comments below. Your feedback and support is greatly appreciated. But until next time, be good players.